What's going on, guys? Our Kelso here, post-quarantine. I have a special guest with me for Dream Talk for our first one after post-quarantine, and it's an agent that we've had some connection in the past, three especially. It's Drew Kelso of One Motorsports, and he is a co-founder, and he has a bunch of basketball knowledge. So I kind of wanted to get Drew on here, kind of talk about his basketball knowledge, his previous experience. So glad to have you on here, Drew. I'll let you kind of talk about yourself and introduce yourself.
Hey, Albert, how you doing, man? But hey, I appreciate you having me on, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. Ever since we first started, I guess right after we started OMS, like you were one of the first guys that we placed in this. So it's always good talking to you. You've been good to us. But yeah, the name of the company is One Motorsports. Our office is located in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So we're about an hour outside of Memphis, Tennessee. My partner and I, Thomas Sandlin, started it out in November of 18. So that's what I was doing, which is now very popular. But in 2010, rural Mississippi, it was not. Everybody thought I was crazy or I was doing something illegal or whatever the case be. But my parents weren't. My whole family was like, this is what you went to college for, was to start a shoe flipping business, and took a leap of faith and bet on ourselves, and we wound up doing really well. We ran that business for about 8 years. We were moving a lot of shoes, selling them over the world. Wound up moving into brick and mortar, and did wholesale, did online, Amazon, eBay, all that. So we wound up selling all the inventory and all the things associated with it in, I guess it was December of 18, so shortly after OMS started. And without getting too deep, OMS was more of a calling for me. I kind of got burnt out on the shoe thing.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy, our best friend, we got the name of the company, we named after a friend that passed away. And without getting too deep into it, about a week before he died, he looked at me and was like, the shoe thing and retail thing is great. It's better than anything with it. We all thought you were crazy when you did it and it wouldn't work. He said, but you were meant to be an agent. And I was like, I haven't thought about that in years. That's what I always wanted to be as a kid, was an agent. I saw Jerry Maguire for the first time. I saw O.J. Mayo play for the first time when I was like 12, and I knew I wasn't going to the NBA. So I wanted to be – I've always had a business mindset, but I love basketball. Obviously played it. No guys in the NBA, no guys overseas, no coaches. So it made sense for us to do it, but at the time I was doing the shoe thing and got away from it. And he told me that, and it was about literally a week later he passed away. And, that's where the name of One Motive was. He actually had it tattooed across his chest. So we named it after him. He was very close with my partner and I. So it's a deeper meaning than a lot of people. And, not to get too sentimental or anything, but that's where it all started. And I think that's one reason that I hope that we're different than a lot of agents. There's a lot of good guys in the business, but obviously the stereotype, there's a lot of, for sure. And I'm not saying that we're perfect or anything like that, but we try to do things the right way. And I think that carries over from, us starting it based on something bigger than just making money and getting guys jobs. And it's kind of like a legacy that we're trying to live up to. So
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense, Drew, because ever since we first started talking, I mean, you can kind of tell there's something different about you and your organization, and you kind of tying that in with where it all started and him telling you, before he passed, like there's definitely kind of a higher calling there. So I have nothing but respect for that. So we can kind of tie that into, so you started the company in 18, and then somehow we kind of connected over social media, and you were able to get a couple guys our way. And we can kind of transition right into that, like Lionel and Devin, and definitely some talented players there.
Crazy. The funny thing is, Lionel was the very first player we ever signed. I had a connection to Lionel through a mutual friend, and he's like, "Look, this guy can really play." Lionel Ellison that played with you guys, I guess. I watched his film, and I knew the kid was good, but he had a gap in his resume. and he had an agent before that kind of led him down the wrong path, and he never got to play anywhere.
Yeah.
And we had him in another organization's training camp, didn't make it. He came back. I reached out to you, and I'm like, look, this guy's got to get something on his resume. You told me a little bit about what you guys had going, and we got him up there, and it was great for him. And then Devin wound up joining him, Devin Wyatt. It was good for both of them. I think guys need to understand. We can probably touch on this more later, but that having something on your resume, if you're trying to really make it, is one of the most important things you can have. Whether it's overseas, in the States, of course, everybody wants to play overseas or in the G League or NBA, but I mean, the realistic chances of that are, right away are slim. It's very, very hard, and we'll talk on that too. How talented some of these guys are, and you guys have seen it in ABL and PBL level and all that. Like, there's some really good players that you look at, like, why in the world are they not overseas or whatever? And especially a guy like Lionel. Like, Lionel is unbelievably God-given. Like, he's a freak athlete. And it really opened the door for him. And to fast forward, we were able to use that experience from Du Bois, and I think that it really helped him get a job in Kazakhstan. He played in Kazakhstan right until Corona happened this year. He played for about 4 or 5 months over there. So, and I mean, a respected league, and he did well. And I really think that just filling that gap on his resume, and now he's back on track to where he did the job again in the fall. And whenever it does start back. But I think that's huge, and I appreciate you guys for that, because I've dealt with a lot of minor league basketball too, and without saying any names or anything like that, but I mean, you get into a lot of times with minor league basketball, you get into a lot of situations that aren't good, and you guys had a good setup. I think you guys are trying to do the right thing. We didn't expect it to be the G League or anything like that. We knew it was going to be minor league basketball, but I mean, the way you guys have the gym and the support there is always good. And I mean, to hopefully have somebody back there eventually one day. So. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I know I definitely want to team up in the future, just because you got a good eye for talent and for people. And, Lionel and Devin, they're both good guys. And I'll tell the story about Lionel. Was our home opener. Had a good crowd. He goes up and he just crams on. Like, you could just tell he was a next level person. However, he was similar to, I would kind of bring up from our first year, was Anthony Jackson was on our team, and he had a gap in his resume too. He came in, he did the right thing. He kind of dominated. He almost averaged a triple double in our league, and then he ended up in Slovakia the next year. There's just that gap. So with Lionel, like, I was so happy to see him continue on. Like, it's definitely not the G League. It's not the NBA here in Du Bois. But like you said, it's kind of like with yours. Like, I've kind of had a higher calling, higher purpose with the Du Bois dream. And I think that's kind of how we connected. And I'm definitely looking forward to teaming up in the future. And I'm glad to hear that Lionel is back on track, because I want to transition that into, now that he's back on track, he played in Kazakhstan. It's another guy that I'm curious about, because he's another – it's not a direct connection, but it's a roundabout way, because I made a trip over to Kosovo and have a contact over there, Ben DeLarme, and he lives in the city of Mitrovica. So you have a connection with, DJ. And go ahead. What's that?
Is your friend over there? He's from Du Bois.
Yeah. Ben is from Du Bois, and he ended up over there. He teaches at the Kosovo Leadership Academy in Mitrovica, and we were able to connect. And unfortunately, DJ and Ben weren't able to connect as much over there, but Ben got to watch him play. So I want you to talk a little bit about DJ's story and him starting from the lower level league, and then how he is on his way up because of kind of taking that route.
Oh, absolutely. So his name is DJ Haynes. He is from Colorado Springs area. He played at Grace University. It closed in Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
And then he went to Nebraska Christian, which was down the road in Omaha area. And they were both NCCAA, which is the same thing as USCAA, which you guys are familiar with up that way with the schools up there, Christian college. So, I mean, his whole school enrollment was 150 kids. Wow. 150 kids in the whole college. And actually, the school just announced a couple of weeks ago that they were closing. So that school no longer exists. So that makes the story even crazier.
Yep.
That he went to 2 colleges and neither one of them exist anymore. He was a rare breed. Backstory: he played Division I football his first year, and Northern Colorado division, I guess FBS. But he was playing Northern Colorado, didn't like it, decided to play basketball, tried walking on somewhere, didn't get picked up. He wound up finding his way to Grace in Nebraska. And I mean, so when we first started OMS, like my first instinct was recruiting.
Yeah.
In the middle of the start of college basketball season. So I wanted a list of guys a mile long to look at because I knew it was going to take numbers. And, I honestly didn't even think about the NCCAA level or USCAA. And I did some research. I was like, oh, what the heck? I'll look. And I saw this kid average 34 points a game. And I'm thinking, okay, he's probably like one of those, what's the name of the school? Grinnell in Iowa that would score like 180 points a game or something crazy. I figured he went to one of those schools and he just shot threes and didn't play defense. And I found like a grainy highlight tape on him. And he'll laugh if I tell him, but like I came out of my chair. Like I couldn't believe it. Like he was coming down the lane, dunking on people. He's 6'1", pulling up, hitting threes, from everywhere. Unbelievable. And like it was like a very, very grainy film. And I remember that was my first recruiting call I ever made for his coach. And I'm like thinking we're in like this big, like we're going to have to go up against, at that time I had no idea. So I'm like, no, we're going to go up against the big agencies. We're not going to get this kid. We got to do whatever we can to get him. The only agency that ever talked to him. The day after the season was over, we offered him and he signed on the spot. So we got very lucky, and so anyway, his story was that, and when he basically signed with us in February after his season was over. Very early, first college kid that we got straight out of college. And like I told you, I mean, we couldn't find the kid a job. I think he was probably about a month away. I would have been making a call to you or somebody similar to. We would have loved
to have him. He's a walking bucket.
Sure, he would have packed the gym more than y'all even do. But he couldn't get on, and the thing is like, yeah, he scored 34 points a game, but he did it at this school, or he did, but he's 6'1" and he's a 2 guard. So it was really hard, and we wound up getting him into Kosovo in like last minute, like August. Like he got a contract like mid-August. He flew out the next week. We knew nothing about Kosovo, to be honest with you. I knew where it was on the map. That's about it. I know it was a tough country.
Yep.
Man, he adapted to it so well and didn't complain. He went in and he led the league in scoring. Your friend can probably attest to this. Like, if you go back and watch the highlight films, like they've got great crowds over there. But like the first games, the gym would be about half full, and by the end of it, every night just packed. And he was a show, man. He led the league in scoring. There's some really good players in Kosovo. We were talking about Vander Blue. We're supposed to go over this. Rick Jackson up at Syracuse.
Yep.
There's some really good guys over there. And he, not to be biased, but he dominated. He absolutely dominated. And now he's on his way. We're in the final stages of some negotiations, kind of narrowing down to some options. He's going to be in a really high-level league. I'm talking Czech Republic, Denmark, Holland, somewhere like that. So, to go from Kosovo, from NCCAA to nobody wanting them to Kosovo to now, like, we're having to push some teams away because he's got options. So it's awesome to see, man. Great story on, if you stay persistent and, and he would have been happy as heck to come to Du Bois. He would have been like he just want to play ball.
Yeah.
And, and it goes to show guys, though, if there's anybody out there that's watching from a small school, like if you really get in the right situation, it's all about fit, just like recruiting. You have to get to the right fit, and wherever that may be. You got to add it to your resume and you got to get in the right fit and do the right things. And he did. And we never had any problems out of him. And he's done great. He's on pace. I think he'll be at one of the highest levels in Europe by the time he gets done. So crazy.
That's awesome. And the thing I like about that story is it really shows like how close it is between making it, not making it. And it sounds like he was a pro before a pro. Yeah. like you haven't had any issues with him? He just went out there, did his job, and he was good to go.
The thing is, like, you know, when we talk about it, you know, and there's so many guys that fall through the cracks.
Yep.
And I'm not patting back or anything like that, but like, what happens if we wouldn't have stumbled across that highlight film and nobody talked to the kid? There's a lot of kids that are like that.
Yep.
There might be a kid like that out there right now. And we try to do a really good job of covering all the bases. But, you know, there's no way. There's a lot of players out there, man. And the thing is, and you always hear those stats when you play college ball, I play college ball, and when you're in high school, people tell you, oh, well, only 2% of high school seniors can play college ball. Okay, well, multiply that out by how many actually play pro ball and get paid for it. Very small, like under 1%.
Yep.
And, you know, so you're talking about a very, very select few guys. And, you know, and I hate it because I wish we could take everybody. And there's some guys that really can play that we don't take. And it's just it's tough, but, you know, it's not to discourage anybody. It just takes the right opportunity like DJ. You know, he worked his tail off to get there, but, you know, he was lucky in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, I mean, that hard work, the luck, the opportunity, and I like it because, you know, even if he would have fell through the cracks, I think he would have found his way up to the top again, especially if he was a hooper, because I'm assuming he would have been the type of guy that would have kept playing and would have gotten noticed, because that's what the U.S. minor leagues are about. I'll let you kind of, you know, talk about that too. Just like, you need something on there. You need something on your resume. If you fell off, you need to get back on the horse, and you need to get back on the radar.
No, for sure. And I mean, I think, you know, there's guys, like you said, and, you know, that fall through the cracks for whatever reason. And I know some really talented guys that never had a chance to play anywhere. So, you know, play in the minor leagues or whatever league that may be, whether it's PBL, NABL, whatever, you know, it's better than not playing for sure. And, you know, if you can find a good organization like yours that's going to film stuff and, you know, get some stats, and you gotta have somebody promoting for you, like an agency, or you need to be self-promoting and not in a way that's degrading yourself.
Yep.
Hurting your own brand, if you will. But, you know, I think just playing in the situation, and yeah, DJ probably would have, you know, found a minor league team or something to play on. But, you know, I mean, I'm glad he went the route he did. And,
for sure.
But there's serving guys out there. I remember watching some of y'all's games, and like some of those guys can really play.
Yeah.
And never had a chance to go overseas or make money playing, or, you know, they're trying it every year to try to get going. So I mean, the guys that are watching this, man, feel blessed, because you know, we've been really fortunate to get the very, very majority, almost pretty much everybody that we've had has got a job at some point. You know, and trying to, you know, try to keep that going, because it's very, you know, if you can get going anywhere overseas, you be lucky, you know, and consider it a blessing. So definitely get something on. So it's like I was talking about to you before we started. It's like, you know, you can say I was really good in college, but I haven't played in 3 years. It's like being a doctor or a lawyer.
Yep.
And they're going to be like, okay, what did you do the last 3 years? So get something on there, get some film, get some stats, and then people like me and teams will take it a lot more serious.
Yeah, and I kind of want to get into this because it sounds like you've really started to figure out the process and like who to look for as far as players go. Like, what kind of triggers you? Like, what type of guy are you looking at? It sounds like the serious hooper. Like, you bring up like the DJs and like, you know, Lionel's willing to go to Kazakhstan, like different things like that. Like, can you take me through your process?
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously changed a lot since we first started. To say that we're know-it-all or experts, far from it.
Yeah.
Mistakes, you know, on guys, and not like not saying bad. I mean, I take full responsibility for it. But, you know, for us, it doesn't really necessarily matter the level. I mean, I know some agents that are like D1 only. Like, we're only taking – if you look at our roster, we've got probably more NAIA kids than – and I think it's just one of those deals where you have to figure out, A, if the kid can play or not. Can he play? Can it translate to the next level? That's your first step.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you do that so well that's going to get them a job, and where do you – and the thing with us is we kind of had to learn the levels along the way. I mean, you know, the funny thing is it's like a lot of agents, they go to Europe and they'll go and shake hands, and we'll get in that later. But, like, I've never been to Europe. So I've never even been to
wow.
Europe. And I've had all these guys go to Europe. We were going to go to Europe this spring, but Corona got in the way. So, but the thing is, like, you got to look for what really sets you apart. What really, what's your MO? What are you trying to do? I'll be honest with you. I'm all for having a dream. Like, this was a dream for me. You obviously have a dream, the name of your team. But, be realistic. Like, if you're saying NBA or G League only and you aren't open to other ideas, look, 450 players in the world in the NBA, 450 players or so in the G League. Like, I'm not here to crush anybody's dream. I've seen a lot of great players that never had that opportunity.
Yep.
Like, the majority don't. So, when you're playing, be coachable. If you're really going to seek representation and you trust that person, be accessible and coachable to that advice as well. It's not the gospel always, but at least hear from somebody that knows. If you don't know, ask somebody. That's what I was always told. And attitude is huge. Character. Like you said, the guys that we send up there, they're good guys. I've never let go of anybody for on the court stuff. I never would if we bring you in and you're doing what you're supposed to do off the court, as long as you want to be a part of our company, we'll keep you. Yep. Performing or not. Luckily most of our guys have done really well as far as on the court stuff and got a good start to their career. But, the moment that you start doing things to jeopardize your name, our name, all of that, like, there's a myth, like, people don't realize, like, oh, I can play ball. Like, if I get overseas and get a contract, I start averaging 20, they're going to keep me. No, I don't. Because you go over there and start acting crazy or do something, like, they've got somebody on the next plane over and you're on the next plane out.
Yep.
Very cutthroat. So, character is huge. We're always going to make reference calls, to your coaches, to people that hopefully like you, maybe some people that don't like you, figure out why. And we really want good high character guys for sure. Watch your social media, because that's one of the first things I do is if I go and I look at DJ Haynes, for example, and we were recruiting him and he's got, every word in the book, or, he's got this and that, like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't care how good you are. So, college coaches will tell you the same thing, that kids will lose more scholarship offers off social media than anything. And I don't care. And, Facebook especially is it's all university, Instagram, everything. But these coaches too, they'll look at your social media. One of the first things they do. And I was talking to you about this before we got on, and it was like, we were talking about, everything that's going on in the world today. I had a talk with some of our guys, and I was like, look, have a voice, stand up for what you believe in. But at the end of the day, if you have to think about before every time you make a post, and this goes for any profession in my opinion, even if you're self-employed like me, if you have to think about it before you post it, if it's going to cost you a job or not, don't post it. Yeah. It's going to cost you business opportunities, especially guys like we've talked about before that came and played for you, or guys that are trying to play for you or whatever. Like, you're probably going to do the same thing. You're probably going to look at their social media and make sure they're not or anything like that. So if you have to think about it, don't post it. And I have to monitor our guys. Luckily, we've got pretty good guys that aren't posting crazy stuff. But there's been times where we've had to tell guys, like, hey, you might want to take that down, and that's huge. But, yeah, as far as that's pretty much the process, and then obviously just evaluating this overall play. And then the recruiting starts, and that's when the real fun begins, whether you get them or not. So.
Yeah, and I love the battle, and it makes a lot of sense. I like that you told your backstory as far as, like, the shoes and stuff go, because I've always, like, kind of got the feeling that you were a hustler and you just, like, were willing to do what it takes. And the coolest part about it is you're finding, like, these – yeah, sorry, go ahead.
That doesn't sound good. You said I was a hustler, so it made it sound like I was up to something bad.
I'll say your work ethic. You can just tell that you're willing to, like, do the nitty gritty to make it happen. And I love the fact, because we can tie this in right here, because we have Penn State Du Bois here that's a part of the USCAA. and you got a guy out of the USCAA, and you got him a job because it sounds like, I mean, obviously he had size, but I mean, you were open to actually adding the guy, and now he's a legitimate pro.
Yeah, no, we have a guy named Jordan Williams that played at Penn State Wilkes-Barre right up the road from you guys.
Yep.
And, you know, he was a guy that honestly got him through a resume being sent in. I didn't know where I never heard of Penn State Wilkes-Barre. I didn't know where it was. So I liked him. I thought there was something special about him. I got him on the phone one time, and I'm like, you know, one of the questions is, what's your why? What are you trying to, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And man, his answers were just amazing. You know, a very humble kid, very, you know, down to earth. And I'm like, look, I'll take this kid any day of the week. We'll take a chance on him. And he wound up going to Portugal, second division, got hurt 7 games in. And he played well, but he hurt his knee. He came home. They sent him home. And we actually just closed the deal for him to go to Switzerland. So we'll announce that probably in the next week or two. But you're a great kid. But yeah, no, I mean, don't give up. If you're at a small school, like, yes, the odds are stacked against you for sure. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm being realistic. But don't give up on it, you know. And I mean, those guys at the USCAA level, NCCAA level, NAIA, D3. We signed our first D3 kid ever this year. We'd never done that before.
Oh, what?
Oh, and we actually got 2. They're both a good job for sure. So I mean, you know, look, if you can play, you can play, man. Somebody will find you at some point.
Yeah, and I love it that you already have. I mean, you have 2 examples. You've only been in the business since 18, and it's like,
yeah.
I mean, that's unreal. That's unreal.
Yeah. We got a lot of examples of guys. I mean, you know, Christian college like USCAA, NCCAA. There's not a lot of those guys playing overseas. So I mean, I feel fortunate that we were able to get those guys jobs. They earned them. We were just here, you know, hustling, like you said, you know, and knocking on doors every day and trying to get them in. But at a certain point, when you prove your worth, somebody will find you, you know. And I don't have to shop DJ Haynes much anymore, you know. Like, people are coming to us. So, you know, and this is what I was talking about earlier was, you know, DJ is will get jobs now over guys from Power 5, from the Big 10, Big 12, SEC. He will get jobs over those guys because of now it doesn't matter anymore. He's proven that. So it doesn't matter where you come from at a certain point. So once you get that on your resume, like we've alluded to many times, like, you're good. Like, if you do the right things, it'll work out for you. Yeah,
I just love that you know, the people you're getting kind of taking their egos out of it, taking that step, and then now they're set up, because you're right. It all levels out. Once you perform one time and you keep going, sky's the limit. So it's cool.
Yeah, you know your brother. I met your brother down at NAIA Nationals. He was a team physician. What was
team physician? Yep.
Georgetown College in Kentucky.
Yep.
And we signed 3 guys this year from one NAIA, and that's really unusual. But they're a really unusual program. And a guy like, you know, we talked about Chris Coffey, NAIA National Player of the Year. They won national championship last year. And I mean, he's getting major looks, and he's a rare breed too. So I mean, it didn't take a rocket scientist on that one to see that he was a pro. We were very fortunate to get him. But, you know, like I said, I wish more agents would look at smaller school guys, and, you know, I get why they don't, because it makes you work harder. But that's more, in my opinion. So, and I guess a lot of it, you know, we were small school guys. I mean, me and you both played small school ball, so we understand there are players at that level for sure.
Yeah, and that's great. So next thing I want to transition that into, because, you know, you've talked about kind of success stories and stuff, and guys working their way up. And I know you host a showcase. It's called a showcase, right? With One Motorsports. Yeah, so you're hosting that, and you get some guys from there, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, so we have we did it last year for the first year, and we're doing it again. Got pushed back because of Corona, and we got the okay to do it. It's 2 weeks from yesterday, so June 27th. We will sign a guy or 2 from that for sure. You know, I mean, I wish I could sign them all, but just no way. You know, but one thing that we do, and something that I want to talk to you about after, is, like, you know, we'll film it all and stream it. It's in Little Rock, Arkansas. We're sold out, actually, so we've actually, yeah, we had a full house. We will. So I mean, we had to keep it under a certain number. So, and one thing about the exposure camps too, I've been to them. I played in them when I was playing, like for college and stuff like that. And you go in the gym, it's 200 kids. I'm like, man, nobody's going to stay here.
Yep.
You know, we limited it to 50 guys, and we sold out. But, you know, we will put it all on YouTube. We'll put it all. And, like, one thing that I kind of set out to do is, you know, obviously nobody from Europe is going to come to camp. Like, they can't come in the country right now. So it's not like we're going to have overseas coaches there or anything like that. I mean, I wish we could. But we're going to put it all online. We're going to send it out. And one thing I want to do is connect guys with, you know, minor league organizations like you guys that need a shot, or, you know, an agency or whatever. So those guys that take the time out and invest their money and their time in us, like, whether we sign them or not, like, I want to make sure that they are taken care of the best we can. You know, I mean, I can't promise anything, but, you know, at the end of the day, we had, I think, 7 or 8 guys from last year sign with an agency.
Wow.
It wasn't us, so I would send out messages to other agents like, hey, you might want to take a look at this kid. And, you know, several of them got jobs, you know, and we signed 2 of them ourselves. So, you know, and both of them will play and we'll play again. So, you know, we're excited about it. I'm looking forward to being back in the gym. It's been a while.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that, because I'm really interested in that, because you're right. There's a ton of talent. Sometimes the guys may not be ready yet, but that extra year of getting the prep and show that they can play at a high level in the minor leagues goes a long way. So the kind of what I want to finish off with is, I'm curious about your perspective, because you've seen these guys, you know, going overseas, having to come back because of Corona. Like, where do you see the basketball landscape heading in the future? And are guys going to be like, are they going to be having to stay in the U.S. and looking for an opportunity in the minor leagues here?
Great question. You know, I think there's only one being in the world that knows what's going on. That's the one above it. But no, it's crazy, man, because, you know, we've had 7 guys sign for next season already, and it's every single one of them is contingent on Corona.
Yep.
There will be some laws in there about Corona, and obviously we've signed a lot of deals, and I've never seen that before. But I mean, obviously it makes sense because, you know, if they can't get in the country, or there's a second wave or whatever. Which Europe, I'll allude to Europe real quick. Europe is where we mainly deal, and they're kind of on the downhill slide, at least. And a lot of players, you know, they're probably a lot smarter than us in a lot of ways. They were very strict on it. They've got it narrowed down, even in Italy and places like that. They're making moves toward the season starting. You know, as far as the landscape goes, I think that leagues will get pushed back. I talked to a NBA scout last night, actually, for about 45 minutes. I won't say the team, but he was telling me that he thinks that, I mean, he doesn't even know when the G League is going to start. And this is a guy that in the organization as a scout, and he has no idea when the G League is going to start. He said if he had to guess, it'd probably be January, but that's just hearsay. No one really knows. And so, I mean, I do think that a lot of leagues, there will be some leagues that won't play overseas, or they won't allow Americans, or, you know, I think the G League will be more competitive than ever, if it wasn't already.
Yeah.
Because guys are taking pay cuts overseas. You know, that's the thing that people don't understand about this is, you know, you think overseas basketball, and you use DJ Haynes, for example. You've been to Kosovo. You know it's not high level. Like, it's not – they don't have red carpet rolled out for those guys.
No.
Man, it is a grind. And, you know, that's one of the things, until you really reach that level where you're, you know, making significant amount of money, or you're in a really good organization, you know, everybody sees it on Instagram and they think it's just glorified. And I mean, the fact that you're playing overseas is great. Whether you're in Spain, El Salvador, Australia, wherever, like, if you can play overseas and you're getting taken care of and getting paid to do it, that's awesome.
Yep.
Obviously, a lot of leagues are better than others, but, you know, I think that the thing that people don't realize is, you know, these teams don't have $1 million sitting in the bank. You know, they don't have, you know, there's guys $100 a month. You know, there's guys playing for $1,000 a month. And, you know, they might pay for your food and your housing and your flight and all of that. So, when those sponsors can't, like if the sponsors go bankrupt or they have to pull their sponsorship back.
Yep.
And I mean, I even on a local level, I mean, I don't know what you guys actually without getting into it, but like those sponsors that you guys have, they have to think about every dollar they spend. I'm blessed that I'm not in retail right now, because if I was in retail, I wouldn't have any hair left on my head, because I can't imagine all business in retail right now. So I think with that being said, a lot of the overseas stuff will, there will be some jobs cut for sure. And I think guys will need, to, like it's like we talked about a lot, they need something on their resume. So sure, go play in the PBL, go play in a minor league, whatever the case may be. It's better than not playing, and I tell all our guys, like, look, obviously everybody's situation is different. I've got guys that are married. I got guys that have kids. I've got kids that don't even have a cell phone bill. I've got everything in between. And look, if you have the ability, if you're listening to this right now and you have the ability to go play for an organization like yours, or go play for another organization similar, or overseas, I'm not telling you that you're going to get rich. It's not a get rich quick scheme. But to me, and you can attest to this too, the real world will be here waiting on you when you're done. I promise you that. The ball will stop bouncing sooner than you want it to most of the time. I wish, as old as I am now, I wish I had a couple games left sometimes. I wish I could trade places and go play overseas a couple games. But, so if you can play, man, like, take advantage of it. Take an opportunity like what you're offering and run with it.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on pretty much everything I was hoping you would, as far as like the sponsorships go, as far as, continuing on Corona. Like, it's such an unknown at this point. And if you guys are listening to this interview right now, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. He has an eye for talent. He knows about the grind. He knows about the hustle. Like he said, he's seen a lot, and he's only going to get bigger and better. And Drew, I'm really glad you were able to hop on this call with me and doing this Dream Talk interview. And we'll definitely have to catch up more.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope. I know I might be speaking out of turn. I know y'all did that international or overseas showcase a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Something like, I think you guys should do that again. And I would love to help with that any way I can. See if I can get some. I mean, I don't know if I can get overseas coaches there or whatever, but see if these guys will watch it, because I mean, I know a lot of coaches and GMs that would love to see some hidden talent for sure. So something we can talk about later, but definitely want to meet. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this has been awesome, Drew. So, thanks again for hopping on this call with me, doing the Dream Talk, getting the Dream Talk back after quarantine. Wishing you nothing but the best, and I know you're going to have nothing but success moving forward because you're a hustle.
Appreciate y'all and, the opportunity to come on and everything that you guys are a part of and doing. I really hope that – sorry, I'm getting another call here. Right at the end, I get a call. So, I hope that you guys keep doing what you're doing, man. And I hope that you guys, come out of Corona and, come back stronger. This too shall pass. So that's what we keep telling ourselves. It'll be good, and we'll get through it.
Yeah, that's for sure. So appreciate you, Drew. And One Motorsports, go check them out.